Module 5B, CAD 116. Hi, Joe Cerrone here. I'm going to go through and work on this bolt pattern, circular bolt pattern for Module 5. You can find the assignment in the mechanical labs under Lab 5B. And if we click on it, we can see that we have this circular plate with a bolt pattern. We also have a number of different line types. We have our object lines, we have our center lines, we have our hidden lines, and we have our dimension lines. We have a side view showing a section, and we have the instructions. And the instructions are specific to pick up certain CAD techniques. And so there's some information here on the best way to draw the center line that shows the circular pattern by using an arc and then break and then arraying that. And then there's some other information here about which title block to use and how to complete this side view. The drawing is done at 3/4 of an inch equals 1 inch, 3/4 equals 1. To start, we're going to get the title block, and so we can find the B-size title block on the AutoCAD website. And so if I click on this link right here, it'll take me into the Module 5, and there's some additional instructions. Here's the YouTube for the other rectangular bolt pattern. I'm going to go to Main, Module 2, and I'm going to find the title block here. Here's my B-size title block. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to save as, and I'm going to put that on my desktop. Looks like I've got one there already, but that's fine. And then I'll open it. I'm using two monitors, so I'll slide the other monitor information onto the screen. And what it's done is it's gone in and opened my B-size title block. And so I'm going to get rid of this recovery manager so I have a little bit more real estate. You'll notice that it's a B-size title block with a viewport. That's what this red line is. If I double click outside the viewport, I'm in paper space, and if I want to, I can edit the title here, and I can say array. Notice that the text fits within the box because the text was created with a justification option called fit. If I look at the drawing, I'm going to start off in model space by drawing this circular plate, and it's 7 inches in diameter, and this is how we would read a drawing like that. You put the dimensions on the drawing view that best describes the object. So we're going to go into model space. We can do that by clicking on this tab here. And then you can start the drawing anywhere. Some people like grid and snap. If I'm one of those people that likes grid and snap, what I like to do is I like to show the menu bar. And my menu bar is already on, so I'll hide it. And then I'll re-enable it with show menu bar. And then I like to go into the drafting settings to be able to set up things like my snap and my grid and things like that. And so if I go and I say, okay, turn on the snap, let's put that at 0.125, and then if I want to put on a grid, I can leave that at 0.5. I also like to enable polar tracking so that I'll get some tracking lines. And then my object snap seems to be enabled. I'm going to put endpoints and center on as well. Node is going to be for a point. Don't necessarily need that at this point, but I'm going to leave it. I'll put intersection on as well. I will go to my home screen. I'm on the object layer, and what I'll do is I will draw a 7-inch diameter circle. Circle, center diameter, pick a convenient point, bring that out. Now it's tracking in diameter, so let's just say 7. enter. There's my 7-inch diameter circle. I'm going to then take a look at this bolt pattern, and I'm going to look at where that's located, and it's located on this 4.975 diameter center line. So I'm going to start off just by drawing a circle 4.975. I'm going to then place a circle at the quadrant here, and it's going to be a diameter of 0.75. Notice that it's trying to grip the center, and so what I can do is I can disable my O-snap. And then what I'll do is I'll go through and I will make a polygon at that point. Number of sides is going to be 6. Center is going to be right here, and it's going to be circumscribed about the circle. And I believe that's the direction of that bolt pattern. Let's take a look. No, I'll have to rotate it. Does it make a big difference? I guess it just depends on if you're actually actively involved in manufacturing. Aerospace companies and companies that have tight tolerances on things like assembly will regulate the torque and the way the bolt pattern should look. So I'm going to make it look exactly. To make that look exactly, I'll rotate it from the center, and I'll just turn it like that. I'm going to use a polar array, and from the drawing I'm going to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 bolts. So I'll come over here to the array, polar array. I'll use a blue window because it only selects what's inside of it. And before I do, let's take a look at the cross pattern here. Notice that this is also rotated. So before I make that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to put a center mark. And I'm going to go to annotate, and it's hidden here under dimensions. Well, it used to be hidden under dimensions. Now I think they have their own center mark tool in here. Let's see if I can find it. The command is dimcen, dimcen. Let's see. Center mark. And what I'll often do to find a command is I'll type in the command and then I'll hit the F1 key. There it is. Now that if I hit the F1 key while I've found that command, it should go directly to it. Mine did not, and so I'll say center mark. And so here it is, the center mark command. And then I can find out how to use that. And so there it is. Nice. So it actually will find it on the screen for you. So I'm going to say center mark, and then I'm going to come in here, I'm going to hit F9 to turn off my snap, and I'll place that center mark on there. I don't need all of it. It's actually kind of big, and so let's see if I can rein this in. There we go. And then I'm going to use the array command. Center of the array, turn my OSnap back on, swipe it. Number of items, 12. And what this will do is it will rotate the items and fill it 360 degrees. I like it not to be associative. So if this is on, turn it off, because associative treats it as one part that I can then edit it, versus non-associative, like it is right now, treats them as individual entities, which is kind of what I want. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up the arc. And so I've got this arc pattern that's in here, and so you can see that center mark is kind of it just doesn't quite work. So we're going to take that out, and then we're going to go back and take a look at our instructions, and it says use the arc start center endpoint and pick the hex center, then break to make a space, then array. And so we can come back to it. And these are just drafting techniques. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but we can pick up on a few things like this. And so in the home command, we're going to go to arc start center end, and we can then pick an arc start center end. I'll try this one right here, and we'll say start, and then we'll say center. I'm going to swipe it, and then we'll say end right there. And then before I array it, I'm going to just do a little bit of trim work on it. And so I'm going to take a little shortcut and make a little rectangle here, and another one here. And then I'm going to say trim. I'm going to select these as my trim lines, and then I'm going to come in here and trim that off, and that too. Then I'm going to delete these out. And this is just kind of hand drafting techniques that kind of carry over. And then I'm going to array that. And so I'll come back here with the array command, and I'll select this object. I'll hit enter. I'll select the center, and then I'll say that I want 12 of them. And it looks great. Close the array. We're going to make a polygon with 8 sides, with a outside width across flats of 1.5 inches. Polygon. Number of sides 8. Center right here. And we're going to try circumscribed, and we're going to say 1.5. Whoops, it's twice as big. It was in radius. Try it again. 8 sides, center, right there, circumscribed. 1.5 divided by 2, which would be 0.75. Now, if you don't like to do math, and I like to use the computer when possible, I'll type in apostrophe CAL, and then it'll go into a calculator mode, and I can say 1.5 divided by 2, and then it will place that for me at that specific measurement. And so there are ways around having to do the math with a separate tool. You can actually use what's called a transparent command, and that seems to work well for me. It dropped it right where I wanted it. This is almost complete. We've got the outside diameter, we've got the bolt hole circle center line. We need this hidden line, which represents this part right here. Okay, and if we were to look at this, what this is a section drawing, meaning that this is a representation, the right side, if I cut this in half with a saw along this section line. And so what it shows, it doesn't show the bolt heads, it shows the holes that the bolts go in. And then it shows that this polygon shaped here is actually a hole that goes through it, and then beneath it there's a round relief area. So let's go ahead and set that up. That's going to be 3.5 inches on the hidden line layer. Alrighty, so we're good. Okay, we'll add the dimensions last. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a cutting plane line. We'll do that on the phantom layer. Pardon me. And we'll do that because the phantom layer is a pretty thick layer. If we look at the layer properties of it, we'll see that the phantom line layer, it actually should be thicker. Let's bump that up to 0.7 millimeters. And that's going to represent our cutting plane line. And so what I'll do is I'll come over here, I'll turn my snap back on, F9, and I'll just draw a line right through the center. And then I'm going to bring it like this, hit escape, repeat line. That was a right mouse click. And then for the arrowheads, I just draw them and use a fill pattern. And so what I'll do is I'll come back here, I'll go like this. And it depends how much coffee I've had, if I can make them. This is a bit wide. It typically should be 3 to 1, 3 times longer in one. And if I want to, I can grip it, pull that out, grip it. And when you grip it, you get these blue squares, and when you click on a blue square and it turns red, it's a hot grip, meaning you can manipulate it. And there's a number of different ways to do that. Once I have one of them, I'm going to fill it, and then I'm going to copy it. And so I'll come back here to my hatch pattern, choose solid, drop that on there, close it. It's a little big. I'm going to scale it in half with a blue window from here. And this is just perfection tendencies. There we go. There's not a bunch of big rules, but it is somewhat of an artistic expression on your design work, and so I like to make it the way I like it. There we go. Okay, we're going to draw the side view of the object in the next video. So before I start that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the dimensions on it. And so I just want the dimensions that are in green. And so I'm going to come in here, enable the dimension layer, and I'm going to set up this diameter dimension, this width between flats, and this is a note. And so we'll come back to our drawing, and I'll come in here and I'll say this automatic dimensioning I'm not a big fan of because I don't have enough control over it. I prefer to go with the pull downs and just say I want a diameter dimension, and then I'll come in here and I'll say I want F9 to turn that off, this, and then depending on how the diameter dimension style is set, I'm going to get things like this. And this is something that I don't always particularly care for. I'm going to put it on the dimension layer. The reason I don't particularly care for it is because there's so many options in the dimension style to set that up. So if I go to the annotate and I go to the dimension style, which is what these little arrows here do, and I say modify, on the fit tab, it opened right up there to it because I wind up changing things around in there. I can go through and I can say, okay, let's say both text and arrows, and then we'll say place text manually and draw a dimension line between, and let's see what we get with this. And we'll say close, and voila, I got lucky with it. Sometimes you'll have to go through and work with this more, but I can go through and put this dimension on here. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll put a dimension in here like this, and then I'll take a look at my drawing, and I think, you know, with this one I may, well, let's just leave it like that. Sometimes I'll trim the section line. It should be 4.975. Let's see what I'm pulling on here. And I'm getting 5. And that's because it's only 2 decimal places of accuracy. So if I click on the dimension and I right click and then I say precision 3 places, I'm still getting it. So we're going to need to make some slight changes, and this will make things a little bit difficult at times with some of the techniques on here. And so let's let's take that out and let's see if we can get that to work. So I'm off by 0.003, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset this line 0.0015, and then I'll array it. So we'll say offset come in here really close, get rid of this one, delete it, come in here really close, delete it, we'll put our dimension back in, see if that fixed it up. Let's set the primary units to 3 places so I don't have to keep doing that. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw the circle at 4.975. And then I'm going to dimension to that and then convert it over. So we'll go back to annotate, diameter, there we go. Of course, wants to be difficult. And that's my O-snaps taking over. They have a tendency to take charge. Now as far as, the cleanup work on that, to be able to get that, I'm going to delete out this line right here. And then, well, let's do it the right way. So, what would I have to do to fix this? Well, one way would be to just delete the green line, and that would not necessarily make my CAD manager happy. Another way is I can kind of come back in here, take these out, and then make my edits. For this drawing. And we'll array that again. And then lastly, we'll put in the dimension for the bolt size, half-20 UNC-2A, meaning it's a half-inch diameter, 20 unified national course threads, 2A means that it's an external, and by 2 means that it's going to be a 2-inch length. And so we'll come back here, and we'll grab a multi-leader. I like to use the nearest O-snap, meaning it will just put an arrow right on there. I think that's the one. If not, it's fine. We'll say half dash 20 UNC dash 2A dash 2. I believe it was. Let's see here. X2. Close text editor. And that completes part 1 of this mechanical exercise.